Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update, the first of 2023. I hope you've all had a refreshing break, and I look forward to providing timely updates of the key Roy Morgan indicators this year as Australia faces a challenging year on many fronts. In 2023, Australia is dealing with the highest level of inflation and the sharpest increases to interest rates for decades. Since the Reserve Bank began raising interest rates in May last year, rates have increased by 3 percentage points to 3.1% and are now at the highest they've been for over a decade, since December 2012. On the political front, we have the New South Wales state election in late March, pitting Liberal Premier Dominic Perrottet and Labor opposition leader Chris Minns against each other. New South Wales is now the only mainland state with a Liberal National Coalition government. Nationally, the political issue of the year will be the referendum on The Voice. A Roy Morgan poll in December on The Voice showed narrow majority yes support of 53%, compared to 30% who say they'll vote no, and 17% still undecided. But first, a look at the key weekly indicators. Support for the Albanese government has strengthened over the summer break, up 1 percentage point to 59.5 since mid-December, almost 20 points ahead of the coalition on 40.5% on a two-party preferred basis. This is the largest lead the Albanese government has had since being elected in late May last year. Government confidence has held steady over the break at 106.5. 45% of Australians now say the country's heading in the right direction, and 38.5% say the country's heading in the wrong direction, virtually unchanged from mid-December. There's also been good news for the Albanese government in terms of consumer confidence, up 5.2 points to 87.7 since mid-December, although over the last week it was virtually unchanged. This is the first year since 2018 that consumer confidence has increased in the first 2 weeks of January. The COVID-19 pandemic influenced our New Year optimism in the last 2 years, and devastating bushfires afflicted Australia in the summer of 2019 to 20. So, although consumer confidence is still well below the neutral level of 100, the early signs are positive as we begin this new year. Next, inflation, or inflation expectations, which began declining in mid-November, and the trend has continued so far this year. This is what we as Australians expect inflation will be on average over the next couple of years. So inflation expectations were at 5.9% in mid-December, but dropped sharply in the first week of January to 5%, and in mid-January have only slightly increased to be at 5.4%. Importantly, Roy Morgan weekly inflation expectations have remained clearly below the latest ABS CPI indicator released last week, which showed CPI at 7.3% in the 12 months to November. The ABS figure for November is close to the peak in our weekly inflation expectations. They hit 6.8% in early November, but have since declined. Now the business community, which faces a testing year on many fronts with high inflation, rising interest rates, and potential price shocks for key energy inputs like electricity, gas, and fuel. That shows a positive end to 2022. Business confidence rebounded in December, up 5.8 points to 96, still below 100, and this followed a fall of 6.4 points in November, so that you can see in the chart a really low point in November, but rebounding in December. This is the largest monthly increase in business confidence since the Reserve Bank began raising interest rates in May 2022, and the largest increase since the election of the Albanese government that same month. Business confidence by state shows South Australia at 106.5, Western Australia at 103.7, and New South Wales at 100.7, all slightly in positive territory. That means above 100. However, all 6 states had lower business confidence at the end of 2022 than a year earlier. They're all down on the last year. Victoria at 95.3, Tasmania at 94.3 are just below the neutral level of 100, while Queensland continues to lag the rest of the country at only 81.8. And at the end of 2022, business confidence by industry showed several industries continuing to score highly, led by information, media and telecommunications, with business confidence at 112.4, education and training at 111.5, and administration and support services at 110.7, almost 20% above the national average. Industries with low business confidence, unsurprisingly, are finance and insurance at 65.9 and electricity, gas and water at only 48.2. Over the next week, the ABS will release their CPI figure for December 2022, which will have a big impact on whether the Reserve Bank raises interest rates at its first meeting for the year in February. And that's a wrap. Subscribe for free to our Roy Morgan YouTube channel for all the latest political, economic and market research data and insights. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to joining you next week with the latest data again on consumer confidence, inflation expectations, unemployment and voting intention. Take care and see you next week.